We want to stop Dahna from getting destroyed. We want to save it. But not if it means having to sacrifice one of us in the process. If all you're gonna do is sit back and watch us where it's safe, then quit ordering us around and shut up!
Hey, what's going on guys? Nostir. Hari ini kita lanjut lagi Tales of Arise. Jadi di part kemarin Rena's almanya dicuri lagi sama si Red Woman ya. Jadi sekarang rencananya kita bakal menuju ke planet Rena untuk nemuin masternya si Red Woman itu. Tapi pas udah mau berangkat, tiba-tiba si Red Woman-nya itu muncul lagi dan ngeteleportin kita masuk ke satelit baru lagi namanya Dikembangkan. Di sini kita ketemu sama si Half-Rek 35 dan dia ngejelasin kalau ternyata dia itu sama si Red Woman ras alien yang namanya Helganquill. Mereka ini nyembah Great Spirit Rena dan saking lamanya mereka nyembah Great Spirits-nya itu, ras Helganquill jadi terancam punah ya. Makanya terakhir si Half-Rek 35 minta tolong kita untuk ngalahin si Great Spirits. Nah sekarang tuh misinya kita disuruh ngobrol sama Helganquill yang lain ya. Coba aja sekarang kita bakal menuju lagi ke elevatornya karena terakhir gue ingat ada upper level sama ada lower level guys. Jadi ada lantai atas sama lantai bawah ya.
To be honest, the conversation went on for so long, I'm not sure I understood all of it. How about you, Dohalim? Were you able to follow it at all?
At the very least, everything it said about the Renan Great Spirit adds up. At the end of the day, this whole chain of events comes back to astral energy. That being said, had we not previously encountered the will of Dahna, I suspect I would find its story much more difficult to believe.
The spirit of Rena wants to see Dahna completely destroyed.
But why? Astral energy is supposed to be a force that creates and shapes the world.
It doesn't matter. I don't care if we're up against an entire world or what its game is. We're not going to let it destroy Dahna.
Right.
There is one other thing that concerns me. How the Great Spirit, the Helganquill, and the Crown Contest are all part of a centuries-long plan is clear enough. But what about the Renans? How do they factor into all this?
Now that you mention it, and all that talk, Half-Rek 35 never even brought up the Renans once. And as for the Helganquill, we never did find out just what they are either.
Jadi si Helganquill juga waktu kemarin kita ngobrol
Maybe it
sama
had a reason for keeping it silent.
Dia nggak pernah
Or perhaps
ngomongin
there's even
tentang
more going
ras
on.
Rena ya.
Maybe the others will shed more light on the matter. Let's find out.
Kita nyampe di kayak ruangan. Oh, ada orang-orangnya dong.
Who are they?
What is it?
Oh, my apologies. It's just been so long since I've seen any humans from the outside world.
Are you a Renan?
Are you a Renan?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. The Overseer told us to answer any questions you might have.
Siapa lagi nih?
Whatever you want to know, we'll tell you as much as we can.
Mungkin
But
Overseer
be
itu
quick.
si Half-Reknya
Our
ya.
subjects are undergoing a dramatic shift that we don't want to miss.
Ini kita nyampe ke ruangan kayak laboratorium gitu guys.
What a weird guy.
He must have meant Half-Rek 35 when he mentioned that
Overseer
overseer.
tuh si Half-Rek.
And what was that about subjects? You don't think he meant Dahna and Rena, do you?
There isn't anyone else we can talk to. I guess we should ask around here.
Have you guys lived up here in Dikembangkan with Half-Rek 35 for a long time?
Kita tanyain dia.
Yes.
Udah
I
berapa
couldn't
lama
tell you
tinggal
off the
di
top of my head
Dikembangkan
just
ini?
how long it's been though.
Oh,
We regularly
udah
go
lama,
into
tapi
stasis,
dia nggak bisa
so our sense
dia
of
sampai
time
lupa,
has
guys.
gotten
Udah berapa
rather
lama
out
dia
of
tinggal
whack
di
over the
Dikembangkan ini,
years.
karena saking lamanya ya.
Why are you all even here in the first place?
Originally, this station was where we worked to perform maintenance on Lenegus from the outside.
Oh.
We heard that the facility ended up in its current location due to an accident.
Untuk reparasi si
Oh, it
Lenegis,
was
guys.
terrible. Apparently, there was some kind of accident, and when help never arrived, they presumed the entire facility had been destroyed.
And you've been working for Half-Rek 35 ever since?
Well, at first we thought that there was nobody else inside the facility, but then it turned out the Overseer was there all along.
What do you mean?
The Helganquill have the technology to cloak themselves around us Renans.
Oke,
As long
bener
as they
ya.
don't do anything
Helganquill
obvious,
ini dia
a Renan
punya
won't see one,
kemampuan
even if it's
untuk
right in front of
nyamar,
them.
guys. Jadi kayak manusia
Which
ya.
would explain why Shionne and I failed to notice the Red Women previously. Do they employ an astral art of some sort?
I haven't been able to scientifically confirm it for myself, but from what I understand, the type of cloaking they use is primarily achieved through mechanical means. In addition, they also used hypnosis devices and information control to get us to do what they wanted without being detected. It's a pretty sophisticated operation, especially since it avoids any unnecessary conflict.
Mungkin itu
I have to
kenapa
imagine
cuma
that's how
beberapa
Lenegis
orang
is
yang
still
bisa
run.
ngelihat
But
si
aren't the
Retomon itu
Helgenquil
waktu
themselves controlled by the Great
waktu
Spirit?
di
If so, why
Hianat
aren't
Heros,
Renans
guys.
affected by it in the same way?
The Great Spirit's mind control only works on Helgenquil, so they had to employ other means to manipulate us Renans.
You act like this didn't affect you personally. If I was you, I'd be mad as hell at their deceptions.
I mean, sure, I was surprised when I first found out about it, but it happened so long ago.
Hevrik 35 has clearly ceased concealing itself, though. Why is that?
Who can say? My guess is it just got bored, or maybe even a little lonely.
Don't you want to go back home to Rena or Lenegis? Our ship is going to be fixed pretty soon. You could ride with us.
No way. If we went back after knowing the truth, they'd either just brainwash us or purge us outright. After all this time,
jadi
there's
katanya
nothing to
tuh
be gained
suara
from
dari
going
si
back.
Great Spirits itu
We've
cuma
all
bisa
agreed it'd be
mempengaruhi
best to
ras
simply
Helgenquil
stay
ini
here
ya.
and watch everything
Jadi,
unfold
si Great
instead.
Spirits itu pakai si Helgenquil ini
Things are
untuk
going just fine with the Overseer.
memerintah si Rena,
Not
guys,
that it'll be
orang-orang
around
Rena ini.
much longer. It can't extend its life any further. That said, I'm sure it's pleased to see the final stage of the plan before it passes on, though.
Thank you for answering our questions.
Thank you.
Can we talk to you for a few minutes?
Sure. It's going to be a while before the two planets undergo their next shift, so I can talk until then.
Please, tell us what you know about the Helgenquil.
Nah, ini kita lagi nanyain tentang
You
ras
mean the
Helgenquil itu ya.
Overseer's species? I can't say I know much about them.
Well, for starters, where'd they come
Where
from?
they come from?
Where else? From Rena, obviously.
Oh, si Helgenquil ini tuh
From Rena?
rasnya berasal
Wait,
dari
are
Rena
you
ya?
telling us those things live right alongside the Renans down there?
Of course not. There's really no such thing as Renans in the first place.
There's really no such thing as Rena.
Excuse me?
Oh, I thought
gimana
the
nih?
Overseer explained
Coba gue baca
everything.
dulu ya.
Apparently not.
Please, tell us more.
Well, in a nutshell, the Renans were originally created from Dahnans by the
Nah,
Helgenquil.
kan bener gue udah nyangka gini nih guys. Gue udah nyangka banget. Jadi sebenarnya ras asli Rena tuh si Helgenquil itu, sedangkan orang-orang Rena yang di Lenegis itu aslinya
But if
orang
that's
Dahna
true,
guys yang diubah
Then that would mean there
sama
aren't
si
any people on Rena.
Helgenquil jadi orang Rena ya.
There aren't, but there are Helgenquil. That's what the name literally means in their language. People of Rena.
But what need could they possibly have to create a whole new race of people?
It was a way to bolster their dwindling workforce. I trust you're aware that the Helgenquil are on the verge of extinction, yes? In essence, we were created to carry on their work for the Great Spirit after they all die. They gathered Dahnans who had an affinity for astral arts and proceeded from there. That's why
jadi
we,
gitu.
as their descendants, can all cast arts, albeit to varying degrees.
Jadi karena
Let me get this straight.
si
Are you
Helgenquil
saying
ini
Renans were
udah
originally
mau
created from Dahnans that the
punah,
Helgenquil
guys,
kidnapped?
si Great Spirits ini
Wait,
nyuruh Helgenquil
that explains why
untuk
almost nobody can use
ngebikin ras
astral arts
baru
on
yang
Dahna
namanya
now.
Rena, orang-orang yang diambil dari Dahna
Helgenquil
untuk
technology is
nantinya setelah
truly
kalau
amazing.
Helgenquil yang
The
udah
way they
punah,
alter their
masih ada
bodies is
orang-orang yang
far
bisa
less
ngelayanin si
invasive than your
Great Spirits
conventional
itu.
surgeries. They have these tiny machines that are practically invisible, which they insert into their bodies and...
Enough. You needn't tell us anymore.
How can you speak so calmly about all of this?
Iya, kenapa orang-orang
I
sini tuh
guess I
santai
can
aja
see
gitu.
how, when viewed in a certain light, their ways may sound grotesque. But if you ask me, I think they ultimately did us a favor. They saved us from crawling the earth in ignorance. If it meant their hands had to get a little dirty in the process, then so be it. Anyway, the Helgenquil are the real
Bener
Renans.
kan?
Personally, I don't think it's such
Gue
a
udah
big
nyangka banget kayak
deal.
gini nih kasusnya ya.
They're also mostly the ones behind what you see going on between the two planets. I think that covers just about everything worth knowing.
I see. Thanks for filling us in.
Does he really expect us to believe that Renans never truly existed? How absurd.
Dohalim.
Just when I think we're getting to the bottom of it all, some new revelation smacks us in the face.
Then let's hope this is our last revelation for a while.
Ini
Do
orang
you know
ketiga ya.
anything about a spirit channeling
Spirit
plan?
channeling plan, guys. Ini kita lagi
If you
tanyain
mean the
tentang
first
spirit
plan from
channeling
300 years
ceremony-nya ya.
ago, then yes. Do you know what its main objective
Do
was?
you know what its main
Yes.
objective was?
It was to use Lenegis to siphon off Dahna's astral energy and send it to Rena.
Exactly. However, there were two problems we had to consider. First was how to collect and send such a large quantity of
Jadi
astral
bener ya,
energy
ternyata
without it
emang
becoming
bener tujuannya itu
sentient.
untuk ngambil astral energy dari Dahna ke Rena,
Second,
guys.
we had to figure out how
Tapi
to
mungkin ini dia
convert
bakal
Dahna's
kasih
energy
kita info
so it
lagi
would
yang
be
lain ya.
compatible with Rena.
I take it the solutions to those problems were to use the wedge for the collection, and then the sovereign and maiden to convert the energy.
Oh.
We have a winner. However, the first plan failed when the sovereign was overwhelmed and became frenzied. The reason for that is because the maiden lost control. I'm told he slaughtered many Renans in Helganquil that day. For the next plan, we tried to recreate the Renis Alma, but we didn't have nearly
jadi
enough of the other non-dark astral energy
Kenapa
types.
waktu 300 tahun yang lalu itu
To amend
gagal?
that,
Jadi si
we set our
Maidennya,
sights
guys, si
on
Neor
Dahna
itu lepas
and
kendali
implemented a
ya.
system
Jadi
whereby
si,
we could extract energy from
Alpha-nya
it.
ini
And the crown
kekuatannya jadi
contest
menggila, guys.
began.
Jadi rampage
Correct.
dia ya, dan
Since
katanya
the
dia
maiden had
sempat
been the
ngebunuh
failing
banyak
point in
banget
the
selain
previous
orang
plan,
juga,
it was
tapi dia
decided to
ngebunuh
replace her role
banyak
with
juga
machinery
Helganquil,
to
guys.
avoid further mishaps. A new sovereign had to be made as well. It was such tremendously difficult work, its success was dubious. But from the look of things, it would appear such worries were unfounded.
So that's what the purpose of that room we found in the Forbidden Zone was.
Jadi kenapa dibikin ruangan pengganti
What about the
maiden
flower
itu?
that
Karena
sprouted from
supaya
Rena?
kejadian di 300 tahun
Flower?
lalu itu nggak
Oh,
terulang
that
lagi,
thing.
guys. Jadi
That's the physical manifestation of all the astral energy that's been harvested from Dahna. As I'm sure you've noticed, it's quite a lot of energy. At this point, it's likely that it's become physically integrated with Rena's planetary structure.
Hevric 35 mentioned that the spirit channeling plan is entering its final stage. Is that true?
It is. I never thought I would live to see the day with my own eyes, and yet here we are. Are we done talking now? If it's all the same to you, I'd really rather not miss anything that's about to happen.
Oke.
He talks like the potential end of the world is just another day on the job.
You've got
Jadi
to
orang-orang
remember
di sini
that
aneh
these
banget,
guys
ya.
have
Jadi
been
dia
living alone up
terima-terima
here
aja
for
ya,
a
kalau
long
ternyata ini
time.
mereka ini tuh
Who knows
diperintah
what
gitu,
shape their
guys.
minds are in?
It feels like
Kurang
our
sih,
whole
kayaknya
world
mereka
has
udah
been
di
turned
situasi
upside
gitu sih.
down. Is there anything we know that's still true at this point?
Seriously, I'm still trying to process the fact that we Renans were created by the Helganquil, let alone the Sovereign and Maiden stuff.
Jadi sebenarnya semua
Let's take a
orang
moment
ini
to gather
orang Dahna,
ourselves.
guys. Nggak ada orang Rena orang
I know
Dahna
all
ya.
of this
Cuman
is a lot to believe and take in, but
spirit itu nyuruh Helganquil
I think it's fair to
ngambilin
say that we
orang-orang
found
Dahna
the
yang
answers we've
bisa
been
pakai
looking for.
astral arts, guys.
Does everyone agree?
Agreed. Though I'll admit that I never expected it to all boil down to Rena's great spirit being behind everything.
Everything that's happened, everything we've endured, it's all because of astral energy.
And to get that energy, the Great Spirit took control of the Helganquil. Then the Helganquil created the Renans,
bener kan?
who went on to invade and rule over the Dahnans.
Plus, the reason the Great Spirit can't directly control the Renans as well is
Oh
likely
iya, jadi
because
kenapa
they
si
were
Great
originally
Spirits-nya itu nggak
Dahnans
bisa
all
ngontrol
along.
orang Rena ya karena ya Rena kan
Either way,
aslinya
I
orang
think it's
Dahna,
fair to
guys.
say we've all had a lot to take in at once. Maybe too much even. We should probably take it easy and rest our minds a bit. Why don't we all take some time to think things over before we decide on our next move?
That's a good idea, Kisara. If the Renan Great Spirit really is behind all this,
We've got a really
then
big
we've
fight
got a
ahead of us.
really
Gila,
big
ini kita
fight ahead of us.
kayaknya bos terakhir kayak
Because
ngelawan
it's
dewa
not
ya.
just Dahna on the line, but Rena too. If we're going to do this, we need to be completely sure of ourselves. So let's go ahead and break off for now. We aren't in any immediate danger, so we should be okay. You sure you don't want to be alone right now?
I could ask you the same question.
I figured I'd get all my thinking in while walking around and checking up on everybody.
I'll go along with you. I'm interested to hear what's on everyone's
Wih,
minds
tumben.
too.
Sounds good. Let's go find them.
Oke.
Everyone's just gone their own
Party
way, huh?
disbanded, guys. Kayaknya
Yeah,
rencananya kita
let's
bakal
hit up each spot.
ngobrol sama party members lagi sih. Ini ya.
Oh,
Kita
it's you
ke
two.
Sarah dulu guys.
Does he seem like he's doing any better now?
He who? Oh, you mean Dohalim, don't you?
I know that we're all struggling to wrap our minds around it all, but he looked like he was taking it really hard earlier.
What do you think about everything we've learned? About the Renans and the Great Spirit and all that?
On some level, I'm not even really sure what to think, to be honest. I mean, the Great Spirit is like a huge natural disaster, but with a mind and will of its own.
Dahnanya, guys.
But if that thing's hell-bent on
Pura-pura
trying to
dibikin
destroy
ada
our
ras
planet,
baru namanya Rena,
then
gitu
the
ya.
only thing left for us to do is stop it.
Dan
As
si
for the
Great Spirit itu
Renans,
ngebikin orang-orang Rena
I suppose my
mikir
feelings
kalau
on that are a bit more
mereka
mixed.
itu derajatnya lebih
How
tinggi
so?
daripada orang Dahna ya, padahal mereka tuh aslinya sama
Coexistence
gitu.
between Dahnans and Renans in Menancia is still a work in progress. In my case, I think that's partly because deep down, I was still on guard around Renans. So, to be told that they're like us, that they're actually just like us is, well, I guess it's a little deflating, to be honest.
You kept a pretty level head.
You mean about the Renans? At the end of the day, the Helganquil and the Great Spirit are the ones who are responsible. But at the same time, I realize that not every Danan is necessarily going to believe that either.
I know you're already aware of this, but the list of grievances the Danans have against the Renans is long, and understandably so. And if people then find out that they're all actually one and the same, yeah, I don't think they're going to take to it too kindly.
Even just among the Danans,
Ini gue
I'm
bingung
sure
nanti kalau
there will be
misalnya
some
emang si
who emerge with
orang-orangnya
power and some
penduduknya
who won't.
udah pada tahu kalau kebenaran
I
kayak
think if
gini
we
ya,
can find a
mereka
way to get rid of
bakal-
that imbalance, then we'll be in a
bakal
truly
ngapain gitu,
good
kayaknya
place.
bakal gila ya.
Well, first we can
Selama
try to
ini
figure
mereka
out what to
percaya
do about the
kebohongan itu, guys,
existing
dari mereka
conflicts we
lahir
have.
sampai sekarang.
Yeah. It'd be nice if one day people could learn to get past their hatred like Rinwell did.
It's no small task. We can't pretend like the past didn't happen and ask people to forget their very real pain and suffering.
Right. Everybody has their reasons for feeling the way that they do. But if we just keep yelling at each other about it, we'll never move on. In a worst-case scenario, it might lead to even more people getting killed.
Bisa
And we all
kerusuhan
have
ya.
to figure out how to meet halfway. Not just that, but to also embrace each other's pain in a sense.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
It's true. Everybody has their own scars, their own trauma. The first step to healing those wounds is to put aside that hatred. It won't be achieved through reasoning, but I think it's a good first step, if nothing else. And now, I think I see a way to move forward. But to do that, first we need to make sure our planet isn't going to get wiped out.
Oke guys, kita ngobrol sama orang kedua, siapa nih? Oh, Rinwell.
You both seem awfully calm.
Only because after everything we've seen, we don't have the energy to
No, we
keep
don't
being
have the energy
shocked.
to keep being shocked.
How are you holding up,
Gila ini,
Rinwell? That
bener-bener
whole talk about the
game-nya
Renans
plot
looked like it
twistnya
shook you up a
bener-bener
bit.
gak berhenti-berhenti guys.
Yeah,
Parah.
I get this sinking feeling whenever I remember how Dan and mages like my family were persecuted and died
Ini
out.
kayaknya sejauh ini
And
guys,
now,
ini
I finally
game
know
yang
why that is.
plot
But I was
twistnya
thinking,
paling
if
banyak
Renans
guys
end
ya,
up living
yang pernah
together
gua
with
mainin.
Danans again,
Ini gila sih.
then mages won't be such an
Bener-bener
unusual
cerita itu
thing to
bikin
see on
kita
Dahna anymore,
penasaran
right?
terus ya setiap kali main. Pasti
I
ada
know
aja
it's
yang
not
baru
as simple
guys.
as all that,
Ada aja
but
informasi yang dikasih tahu ke
Danans
kita gitu.
probably won't be so quick to let their guards down. And there might be Renans who still act superior because of their arts.
It wouldn't surprise me. 300 years of bad blood and prejudice
Oh,
isn't
itu
going to
kenapa
be an
si
easy
Rinwell
thing to
juga bisa pakai
overcome.
astral arts ya.
Yeah,
Jadi
I know
mungkin
firsthand just
Rinwell
how much
ini sama
hatred can take
keluarga
hold in
mage-nya
your
itu
heart
ya,
once you let it
magenya
in.
itu ya, dia tuh
But even so, I was still
salah
able to
satu
change.
orang
And if
Dahna
I can
yang belum
change,
keculik
so can
Rena,
anyone
guys.
else. So
Yang
I was
bisa pakai
thinking
astral
maybe,
arts,
I
sisanya
don't
tuh
know,
udah diculik semua.
I could use my position as both a Danan and a mage to help bring both sides together.
Renwell,
That great spirit worries me too, though. Dana's will feels so warm and inviting. So why is Rena's will trying to destroy our entire planet?
Now that you mention it, Everett 35 and the other scientists here
Nah,
never
ini juga
really
yang
brought that
penasaran ya,
up.
sebenarnya tuh Great
Maybe
Spirit
they
itu
don't know either.
tujuan aslinya dia mau
Maybe.
ngapain itu.
But regardless, at the end of the day, Dana's still our home. There's no way we can let it be destroyed.
Setelah didapetin
We
semua astral
won't.
energi, dia mau ngapain
We'll
gitu
keep
ya.
it safe no matter what.
Oke lanjut. Harusnya tinggal si Lo sama Dohalim ya.
I still can't believe it, man.
You're not the only one still trying to make sense of all this. Believe me.
Really? You've never struck me as the type of guy to get hung up on these sorts of things.
Did you forget what happened back in Thistleum? Once my memory started coming back to me, I felt completely and totally lost.
It was really that bad for you?
Yeah, it was. But thanks to Law and everybody else, I remembered that I still had things out there worth fighting for.
Man, I think you might be a better guy than me, Alphen. All I can remember thinking was, when's this guy gonna get his act together?
Law.
I was too worried about repeating the same mistakes I'd made back with my dad, and running away from the truth. That was no way to live. And I've tried to stay strong, my way. But all this talk about other races and the world ending, if I can be honest with you guys, it's just all too much for me to handle right now.
I know this is going to sound strange coming from me, but maybe the key is not to worry too much about the big stuff right now.
Oh?
I used to worry all the time about my thorns, for obvious reasons. But I never really opened up to anyone about them. And when I realized my visions pointed to a threat that was bigger than me, I didn't know what I should do or who to tell. But that's when I finally got it. You guys were all there for me, to teach me what's really important. I just had to open up and listen.
In other words, if you let the big picture stuff get you all muddled up inside, you'll begin to lose sight of what you really care about. Yeah, I think you're right.
The thing that's most important, what I really care about. All I want to do is protect the people that really matter to me, to fight for them. That's good enough, right?
Not everyone is strong enough to fight.
Huh?
It's something your dad told me once when he was still alive. Law, you know you're strong enough to fight, and you're strong enough to protect the people you care about. Forget all the big stuff going on. Just don't lose sight of what you want to protect in the first place. Sound good?
Yeah, I think it does. It's like a big weight's been lifted off my shoulders. I'll fight to protect the people around me. Just like I always have. I think that's best.
Oke guys, last person ya, si Dohalim nih.
I apologize for making you witness that.
You mean hearing the origins of the Renans?
Indeed. It's shocking to have so many things I thought to be indelible fade away in mere seconds.
Even I'm still not sure everything we've heard here is actually true.
Let's not delude ourselves. If what we've heard is a lie, it's a rather elaborate one. I can only imagine that you must have been constantly feeling like this, ever since your memory returned, Alphen. And you as well, Shionne. About your thorns, and being a maiden.
That's just part of being alive, don't you think?
Well, to say the least. But enough about me. I'm not concerned for myself. What concerns me is all of the other Renans out there.
When you say the other Renans, you mean the ones that are living on Lenegis or Dahna, right?
Correct. Even if we stop the Great Spirit from annihilating Dahna, our problems will still remain, putting aside the untold state that Rena may be in. If we do not truly belong there, we will have to think long and hard about where it is that we wish to return to.
So, I guess your only real choices at this point are to either stay on Lenegis or come down to Dahna, huh? And right now, Lenegis might not even be a safe option.
And at the same time, Dahnans are hardly likely to embrace Renans with open arms. If the issue is forced, things could turn dire. There is, after all, 3 centuries worth of hatred to overcome between us, and the victims of our rule have absolutely every right to feel animosity towards us Renans. Our own circumstances as the aggressors are irrelevant.
I didn't expect the former Lord of Menancia to be so down about people reconciling.
Menancia's fate was a stroke of good luck. There had been backlash over how it had been ruled, and I was blessed to have sympathizers among my ranks. Still, even now, there remain ardent dissidents.
But things can still change if you have the right people to help lead the way. Isn't that what you hope to achieve on Lenegis, after this is all over?
Indeed. I have fully accepted the burden of that responsibility. In that regard, I remain determined. On that note, I have something of a favor to ask of you, Alphen.
Oh? What is it?
I wish for you to serve as a mediator so that the Renans can live on Dahna peaceably. As the one and only blazing sword, I suspect the Dahnans may listen to what you have to say when problems arise.
And I take it that you'll be the one to represent the Renans?
Alphen ini jadi mediatornya. Jadi
I realize that I'm asking quite a lot of you.
orang Rena ini bisa berdamai sama
However,
Dahna dan mereka
the
semua
fact of
bisa
the
hidup
matter
di
is that it will take
planet
time for
Dahna
Renans to
berbarengan,
re-enter
guys.
Dahnan's society without any bloodshed. That is why.
You're the same as ever, Dohalim.
Is it too much?
No, relax. You get so tense and formal when you're asking for a favor. Listen, there's no need for that. We're friends.
You're too kind. I can see you were raised well.
That's some high praise, Alphen.
Then I'll ask once again, this time just as friends. Alphen, will you help me?
Of course.
You don't even need to ask. Of course I will.
Thank you, my friend.
Well, it sounds like everyone's learning from their past and using it to create a better future for everyone.
What about you, Shionne? How do you feel about the origin of the Renans?
To be honest, I'm not really all that
Ini terakhir
shocked,
kita ngobrol
actually.
sama Shionne ya ternyata ya.
I mean,
Kira
I
bakal
might
nggak
be a
ada
Renan
obrolan
in the
sama
literal
Shionne.
sense, but I've never really felt like one of them.
Tapi setelah
Right
akhir-akhir
now,
ini si
it's
Shionne lebih
kind of a
udah lebih
mystery.
tenang guys dia.
How do you mean?
Because for a really, really long time, all I ever thought about was how I was going to die. Not if or when, but how.
Jadi setelah ini
I thought I'd die
setelah kita
alone.
ngelawan si
That
bos
fate
Ifrit
had
itu,
me in
guys,
its steely grip. I would have never imagined that I'd be
pas si
traveling
Shionne
with
mau
someone
pergi
like
ke lagi
you,
sendiri, terus dia
fighting to
akhirnya
save
ceritain
Rena
semua
and Dahna.
perasaan dia.
I mean,
Nah itu dia udah
how
mulai
could I
tenang,
have?
guys.
It's been going on for 300 years. All this tragedy and destruction. When you consider the Helganquil's part in all this, it's been
Sebenarnya
even
Helganquilnya
longer
juga
than
ini nggak
that.
bisa disalahin sih karena dia mereka
It
tuh
was
kontrol
Naori's
ya.
hope that somehow, someone in the future would be able to stop it before it was too late. How it fell on us, of all people, to heed that call is a mystery.
I don't think Naori was hoping that we would just stop the world from getting destroyed. She considered me, a Dahnan, as a real person. And she very much cherished her own people, too. I don't think she wanted the world to be saved, just so they could go back to hurting each other. Oh, maybe this is what she meant.
Huh?
When we were talking to Kisara earlier, about all that stuff like everyone's needing to meet halfway and embrace each other's pain and suffering. She said that the first step down that path was for each of us to put aside our own hatred. That means forgiving other people. Even and especially before they forgive you.
Forgiving. So it goes both ways.
Nice lah, oke lah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I don't just mean forgiving things that happened in the past either. Conflicts will keep happening. If we have any hope of moving on and building a better future, we have to all learn to forgive each other.
You know, you're right. People can hurt one another without even meaning to. I know that better than most, thanks to these thorns.
It's not going to be easy getting past this pain, but if we can do it, I'm sure there'll come a time when we can all truly understand each other. I'm there with you, Shionne. I too want to protect the world we live in, and all the people we care about. I think that's the very least I can do to repay Naori for everything that she did.
Yeah, I want a future that she would feel proud to live in, and I'm going to fight for it.
Whoa there, Savior Girl.
Whoa
We're here
there,
to save
Savior
you
Girl.
too, you know.
Yes, I know. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I want to live, and that's the honest truth.
Well, is everybody ready
Ini
to do
semuanya
what
udah
needs
berkumpul
to be
lagi
done?
guys di elevatornya ya.
I am. There's a lot to think about.
By the way,
but
gua
at the
belum
end of
ke
the
ini
day,
guys, belum ke
Dan is
lantai
still in
atas ya.
danger. I don't care who we're up against. We'll kick their ass.
What are your thoughts, Alphen? I want to know what's on your mind, too.
Like Law said, if we have to fight the Great Spirit on Rena,
So be it.
then so be it. It's trying to rob us of our entire world. And it's going to take not just our home,
Oke,
but
mulai
all
nih
of
Alphen speech
existence
lagi
along
nih
with
ya.
it. That alone is enough to make it our enemy. But it's not only that. One way or another, I think beating the Great Spirit is going to be tied to us saving Shionne.
Ada kemungkinan kalau misalnya kita berhasil kalahin si Great Spirit itu untuk
You're saying there's a chance?
You're referring to the vision of destruction we all saw in Lenegis, I take it?
Yeah. 3 centuries ago, the astral energy that appeared at the spirit channeling ceremony showed Naori that vision. And to hear Shionne tell it, it's the same one that she sees from her own thorns as well.
Indeed. Shionne's thorns are comprised of dark astral energy, the one type which we know is native only to Rena. And if Rena's great spirit is what's behind Dahna's pending destruction, then...
Shionne's thorns are the great spirit?
Shionne's thorns are the
It's
great
not
spirit?
actually on Rena like we thought?
Oh, bener juga
We
ya.
don't know anything for certain. At the very least, though, I think it's
Bener.
possible
Jadi
her thorns are a part
kutukannya
of the
Shionne,
Great
thornnya
Spirit.
ini nih kemungkinan bagian dari si great spiritnya itu.
while the main body resides in Rena.
Main badinya di Rena, tapi ada bagiannya nih yang masuk ke badannya si Shionne karena dulu sama si Neori disegel ke badan
Shionne.
dia ya, dan si Shionne ini keturunannya si Neori, guys.
If these thorns really are a part of Rena's great spirit, I'm going to go over there and give it a piece of my mind and then some.
Nice.
The question is, how do we confront it?
How do we confront it?
Suffice it to say, that flower growing out of Rena is enormous, large enough to house the will of an entire planet. The Wedge and Lenegis were both hard enough for us to overcome in their own right. This is an altogether greater challenge for merely 6.
And we only know about the Thorn's connection thanks to Neori.
Hevric 35 has been observing the great astral spirit this whole time. It wouldn't ask us to fight it unless it has a plan of some sort. Let's go see
Kayaknya
what
kita bakal
that
ngobrol
is.
lagi sih sama si Hevric 35. Nah, kita udah
Do you
balik
have
di
your answer
ruangannya si
for
Hevric
me?
nih.
We want to ask something first. You're asking us to fight an entire planet.
Nah,
How
iya nih.
exactly do you
Mungkin
expect
si
us to do
Hevric itu
that?
punya rencana supaya kita bisa ngalahin
You
si
must
Great
have something up
Spirit-nya
your
ya.
sleeve, or else you wouldn't put us up to it.
The great astral spirit is an immense being, but its actual will does not run throughout its entire body. Rather, its will is derived from the core, which supports the rest of the body, and is where its strength is most densely concentrated. Therefore, if you destroy the core, the great spirit shall become unable to maintain sentience, and return to being ordinary astral energy.
And how are we supposed to destroy that core?
By using the Rena's Alma.
Jadi kita harus ngancurin
You will also
core
need the
inti dari
assistance
si
of
Great
both the
Spirit itu
Sovereign
pakai
and
Renas
the
Alma ya.
Maiden. They are our best tools for suppressing and controlling astral energy. Using their powers, the Maiden shall seal the great astral spirit within her body, and the Sovereign shall wield the power of the Renas Alma to destroy it.
Hold on. That sounds a lot like what Shionne described before.
Yeah, killing herself to take out the Thorns with her.
She was actually right all along.
By my calculations, your powers combined should be sufficient to destroy the great astral spirit and disperse its energy widely enough to make it difficult to reform.
What will happen to the Maiden once we manage to beat the great astral spirit?
Any matter contained within the field of destruction shall be erased.
So it really will kill me.
Oh my god.
This method is the most simple one available to destroy the great spirit, and is therefore our most reliable option.
What are our other options?
There is little reason to consider alternative courses of action when the most optimal among them is so clear.
You don't get it. I promised Shionne that she wouldn't die, that we'd save the world without needing to sacrifice her. We didn't fight this whole time just to give up on her at the very
opsi yang
end.
pertama tadi dikasih sama si
If there's
Hevric,
any other way to take out the Great
si
Spirit,
Shionne tuh
I want to
bakal
hear it.
This plan
Shionne
shall
sama
lead to the fewest
Alphen
losses
bakal
in preserving
nge-seal,
your world.
nge-segel Great Spirit
Abandoning
itu ke
it is
dalam badan
irrational.
Shionne, terus nanti si Alphen bakal ngancurin
It is
badannya si
vital
Shionne ya,
that you
beserta si
proceed with this
Great
plan.
Spiritnya itu.
A part of Rena's great astral spirit already resides within her.
Nah, sekarang si Alphen lagi berusaha untuk
300
nyari
years
opsi
ago,
kedua guys supaya
the
si
Great Spirit
Shionne
descended
nggak
upon
usah mati
Lenegis
gitu.
in an attempt to assume direct control of the spirit channeling ceremony. We have reason to believe the Great Spirit left part of itself behind, and that it now resides in the Maiden.
Which would make Alphen's earlier hypothesis correct.
That part inside the Maiden belongs to the core, and can be used by the great astral spirit to revive itself. So long as it remains, it will be all but impossible to fully eradicate the Great Spirit. That is why it is necessary for it to be vanquished only once it is whole. Without the Maiden's direct control over the Great Spirit, attacking it is futile, and will only serve to strengthen it.
No.
Wait. Naori said that the Renis Alma can suppress the self-realization of astral energy, and that the thorns can be neutralized by placing them in it. If so, can't the same also be done to the Great Spirit, seeing as the thorns are simply part of it?
Well, can it?
It is true that the Renis Alma is capable of what you suggest, and could contain the great astral spirit.
Yes!
However, doing so requires fine control on the level of the spirit channeling ceremony, considering that the Renis Alma was previously lost when that ceremony failed. I cannot allow it.
Nah, opsi kedua itu
Its
masukin si Great
uncertainty
Spiritnya,
is simply too great.
masukin
What
Great
does that
Spiritnya
mean
ke
for us
Renas
if you
Alma,
won't
guys.
allow it?
Tapi
Your
opsi kedua ini
starship will
butuh
not be
kontrol
restored,
yang super tinggi.
and
Jadi
you will all be unable to leave here.
si Shionne sama si Alphen harus bisa
Fine,
kontrol
man.
kekuatan si Great
I'd
Spirit-nya
rather
itu.
stay here and rot than do it your way.
Alphen?
Whatever we do, if we mess up, Dahna's screwed. The Great Spirit will destroy it. If you're fine letting that happen, and we have nothing to gain either way, then I'd rather do nothing. We want to stop Dahna from getting destroyed. We want to save it. But not if it means having to sacrifice one of us in the process. If all you're gonna do is sit back and watch us where it's safe, then quit ordering us around and shut up!
Mampus, disemprot.
What you say is irrational. Be that as it may, I shall accede to your demand.
You'll agree?
Which?
I am an observer. The Sovereign, Maiden, and Renis Alma are my species' greatest achievement. I wish to see how well they work against the Great Spirit in light of our
Oke, jadi
demise
si
by its
Halfrek ini kayaknya
hands.
setuju mau bantuin kita ya.
But what are we supposed to do about the Renis Alma? One of your buddies ran off with it back on Lenegus.
It is likely that the Renis Alma is with the
Setahu gue
Great
si
Spirit,
Halfrek
functioning
ini
as a
kalau misalnya dia
catalyst for it
deket-deket
to
sama
receive
Rena, guys,
Dahna's astral energy.
dia bakal kekontrol lagi sama
So our
si
only
Great
option
Spiritnya
to
ya,
retrieve
gitu ya.
it is to head straight for the Great Spirit and take it back?
According to my observations, the astral energy is most densely concentrated in the center of Rena, where the Great Spirit's core is located.
So right in the middle of that giant flower then.
I have one more question. You've said that Rena's great astral spirit is already integrated with the planet. What will happen to Rena once it vanishes?
Without the will of the Great Spirit, Rena is predicted to collapse. Even in such a scenario, the energy will disperse, and the Great Spirit will likely not reform.
So you're saying that even if we manage to beat the Great Spirit without destroying it, we'll still be in danger?
Likely, the collapse will occur in stages. It is recommended that you all escape before the final stage.
Man, I wish that thing would tell it to us straight for once.
Hevrek 35 and the others have gotten used to hypothesizing from afar, is all. Fix our starship. We're going to Rena.
We're going to Rena.
Excellent.
But I want to make one thing clear. We're doing this for ourselves, to protect what matters to us. We're not doing it for your sake, or because you told us to. Remember that.
It matters little to me. The end result shall be the same. Repair work on your starship has commenced. You'll have to wait until it's finished.
Oke guys, part kali ini plot twist lagi ya. Ternyata orang Rena itu asalnya orang Dahna yang diculik Lenegis sama Helgan Quill. Terakhir Halfrek 35 ngasih kita dua opsi untuk ngalahin Great Spirit-nya. Yang pertama tuh kemungkinan berhasilnya lebih tinggi, tapi Shionne harus mati guys. Yang kedua, kemungkinan berhasilnya lebih rendah, tapi kalau misalnya berhasil, Shionne bakal hidup ya. Tadi kita sempat diancam sama si Halfrek 35 untuk milih opsi yang pertama, tapi setelah diancam balik sama si Alphen, akhirnya Halfrek setuju untuk bantuin kita. Next part kayaknya kita bakal menuju ke planet Rena ya. Oke, sampai di sini dulu videonya. Thanks banget buat semuanya yang udah nonton dan support terus. Buat kalian yang suka, jangan lupa like, share, and subscribe ya. Hope you enjoy the gameplay, and thank you very much for watching.